You cleared six figures this year. And you still felt a quiet, low-grade panic opening your credit card statement after your last leadership summit. The hotel bar tab. The blazer you bought the night before the board presentation. Because your existing one suddenly felt inadequate. The blowout appointment you scheduled at 6 a.m. Because arriving in that room with anything less than perfection felt professionally dangerous. Every one of those decisions felt rational in the moment. Every single one of them was. That is the architecture of the trap. This isn't about vanity. This isn't about being bad with money. You are a high-functioning, analytically sharp professional who has mastered cost-benefit reasoning in every other area of your career. But somewhere between your first promotion and your current title, a set of unwritten economic rules got installed in your operating system. Rules that function as an invisible, continuous tax on your liquid wealth that your male peers simply are not paying. Corporate culture's unspoken gendered aesthetic standards aren't a lifestyle preference. They are a compliance architecture, and you have been financing them with capital that should be structuring your independence. Here is the mechanism. Research published in Behavioral Economics and Organizational Psychology consistently confirms that high-earning women face a dual performance standard. One for competence, one for presentation. Men are extended the halo of authority by default. Women must visibly signal it. Every single day. Through every visible detail of their physical and social presentation. That is not an opinion. That is a documented compliance cost. Embedded inside the experience of being a high-earning female professional in a U.S. corporate environment. And the market knows it. The professional women's apparel and grooming industry in the United States generates over $40 billion annually. That number doesn't exist because women love spending money. It exists because there is a credible, rational fear driving purchase decisions. The fear that showing up as anything less than immaculately assembled will cost you a client a seat at the table, or the invisible credibility you've spent years constructing. So she buys the Loro Piana coat. She maintains the standing blowout appointment. She upgrades her carry-on before the international client trip. Because the old one functional, perfectly adequate no longer matches the visual language of the room she's entering. Each individual decision has a logical justification. The compounding aggregate is a capital hemorrhage. Here is what that looks like in real numbers. A female executive earning $185,000 gross in a high cost of living state carries an effective tax burden federal, state, and FICA of approximately 36% to 38%. Her actual take-home is roughly $114,700 to $118,400. Now layer in the conservative estimate of $18,000 to $24,000 annually. That high-income professional women report spending specifically on professional appearance, clothing, grooming, networking events, client-facing meals, and premium accessories. That bracket alone consumes between 15% and 21% of her entire post-tax income. She is not spending on luxury. She is paying a credibility premium that her male counterpart at the same title is not. His grooming costs are frictionless. His wardrobe depreciates slowly. His networking is golf, not a $450 per person charity gala table. The asymmetry isn't cosmetic. It is a structural divergence in capital preservation that compounds over a decade into a staggering wealth gap that has nothing to do with salary. Stop here, because this is where it gets deeply uncomfortable. The most dangerous dimension of this trap is not the spending itself. It is the psychological lock that keeps it invisible. She doesn't experience the blazer as a financial decision. She experiences it as professional survival. That cognitive framing survival versus choice is precisely what makes this pattern immune to typical budgeting interventions. You cannot budget your way out of something your nervous system has classified as non-negotiable. This is what behavioral economists call status protective spending. It is spending where the perceived cost of not spending social exclusion, credibility erosion, professional invisibility, feels categorically more dangerous than the financial drain itself. And for high-earning women navigating rooms historically not designed for them, that perception is not irrational. It has been validated repeatedly by real professional consequences. The system engineered the fear. The fear engineered the spending. The spending engineered the wealth gap. That is not accident. That is architecture. Here is the number that changes the frame entirely. If that $21,000 annual professional armor spend were redirected into a tax-advantaged investment vehicle, a max 401k at $23,500 in 2026, plus a backdoor Roth IRA at $7,000, and invested in a diversified index strategy averaging 8% annualized returns, the compounded value of that capital redeployment over 20 years surpasses $1,040,000. Over 15 years, that figure lands at approximately $581,000. That is the price tag of the armor. I call this the Credential Tax Trap, the systemic wealth extraction mechanism where gendered professional compliance standards function as a hidden, recurring capital drain, disguised as professional necessity, that systematically redirects investable wealth into an invisible performance tax that the institutional system never has to formally acknowledge or reimburse. The epiphany is not that you should stop investing in your presentation. The epiphany is that the current system is entirely unaccountable for the cost it has externalized onto you. The behavioral fix is what I call the armor audit protocol. Once per quarter, review every recurring professional appearance expense, not to eliminate it emotionally, but to classify it analytically into two columns: non-negotiable professional infrastructure versus status escalation spending. Non-negotiable is the tailored suit for the board meeting. Status escalation is the fourth variation of that suit purchased because a colleague upgraded hers. Separating the legitimate compliance cost from the socially triggered escalation cost is the first institutional move. Whatever lives in the escalation column gets automatically transferred to a dedicated brokerage account the same week. No deliberation. No negotiation with your ego. Automated. Structural. Permanent. You are not dismantling your professional credibility. You are refusing to let the system extract more than its actual operational requirement from your capital base. The moment you start tracking the credential tax trap, something else surfaces. A deeper, more disorienting paradox. Because the women who restructure this spending, who rebuild their capital allocation with discipline and precision, are the same women who hit a specific number in their net worth and feel absolutely nothing. No security. No arrival, just a strange, hollow continuation of the same low-grade financial anxiety, wearing a different mask. That psychological phenomenon is its own engineered trap, and it is systematically destroying the financial decision-making of high-net-worth women at the exact moment they should be accelerating. Click the video on your screen right now, and let's pull back the next layer to dissect why hitting $1 million in net worth triggers the same scarcity-wired nervous system response as the day she was living paycheck to paycheck.